it's just entertainment. The moment I realized how hard I would have to try, it seemed like too much. I almost gave up, another chance wasted. Then when I talked it through, I knew that I trusted you. You said it's okay, just get up again. Tomorrow's another day. A sober second thought, a door I couldn't shut, a shadow of a doubt. I knew something was wrong, yeah. But don't feel bad, things aren't as they seem here. The shadows we cast may be our whole lives, dear. The devil don't care, he's always been patient. It's wearing me down, but it's just entertainment. The moment I realized how hard I would have to try, it seemed like too much. I almost gave up, another chance wasted. Then when we talked it through, I knew that I trusted you. You said it's okay, just get up again. Tomorrow's another day. I think I always had a love of music. I remember being a young kid, and I just always liked music. Like I remember when I was probably about 3 or 4, my favorite record at the time was called Tubular Bells by Mike Oldfield, and I didn't even know why, but I was obsessed with it, and I just had to listen to certain parts of it over and over again. And that goes back as far as I can remember. I don't think there was ever a time that I didn't respond really strongly to music. And I'd always, like I remember I had one of those little egg slicer things that have the little wires on it, and I remember being a kid and like loving plucking those and just making sounds. So I think it's just like a lifelong thing that it's just always been what I'm meant to do. I think my main influences are, at this point, are non-musical. Like my influences are more the things that happen in my life at this point in time, because I used to, when I started making music as a teenager, I was really strongly influenced by the music that I would listen to, and I definitely tried to emulate a lot of things, whereas now it's more that like I'll feel like like by myself I'm feeling really uplifting and positive and whatnot, then that'll be a strong influence on the kind of music that I'll create. Whereas if I'm feeling like there's some really heavy stuff that's happening, then that will be a really big influence on the things that I'm making. And so it's really moment to moment, and the influences can be like, just meeting a new person or a life experience that either is positive or negative, or sometimes there's musical influences as well, but not as direct as they once were. Like it's more likely now that I hear a song and it's not so much that I want to make something that sounds like it, but it's more like I might want to make something that elicits the same response that I have to that song. So if I hear a song and it's like makes me feel really, really like, powerfully in one direction or another, I might want to find my own way of capturing that same feeling. But but yeah, I don't even actually listen to a lot of music these days because I play music so much, and I'm more likely to be influenced by a book I've read, or a time I've had with people I spend my time with, or just the world around me, I guess. There's a CD I made a few years ago, about 5 years ago, called The Winter of Our Discontent, and there was actually an instrumental song on that called The Silent Sea, and I think that's one of my favorite songs I ever made, in that I had a very specific vision for what I wanted that song to be, and it ended up getting really, really close to that vision. And as an artist, I found over time that it's a dangerous thing to have a really strongly preconceived idea of what you're making, because sometimes it doesn't turn out that way, and sometimes you can limit yourself because you're not open to other possibilities and other directions that something could go. But in this case, I actually had a very strong idea, and then it turned out the way that the way I intended, and it's just so rare that happens, because I'm usually a lot more open to like the things changing in process. So I often start with something I find interesting, and then I just let that evolve, and then sometimes by the time it's done, it doesn't sound anything like the first idea. It's gone through so many different iterations and so many different revisions. But that was one case where I had a really, really strong idea in the first place and just was able to execute that. So I like that a lot as far as songs. It's I feel safe choosing that one as well, because I think there's a tendency with artists to always be enamored with whatever you're most recently working on. But that's a song I created about 6 or 7 years ago now. So it's been around long enough for me to, if I was going to fall out of love with it, to have done so, and that hasn't happened, so that's probably a good sign. Choosing just one is pretty difficult, but I'm gonna go with Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. I heard that album, I'd heard it when I was a young kid, little bits of it, but I didn't really listen to it until I was probably about 18. But then when I actually really listened to it and paid attention to it, what Brian Wilson was trying to do musically and lyrically with that record, really is impactful. And it's one of those records that, even though I've listened to the whole thing beginning to end hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times, that I can still go back to and find fresh things to love about it, even to this day. And so I would say that's probably one of the best records ever made. That's tough. I actually have lots of strange dreams, but I have a real tendency toward only remembering them in the moment and then forgetting them. But not sort of like a dream, but as far as kind of tying this into music, there's the second song on my most recent CD is called What Was I Thinking? And that is sort of a combination of real life experiences, but then also dream fragments. And I tend toward, anytime, I don't really have nightmares exactly, and haven't since I was a child, but whenever I have a dream, if there's something wrong in a dream, it always involves car accidents, and it's always it's just this recurring theme, and it's never the same dream, but it's always it's sort of like any time where I'm having a dream and it's frightening, it's almost invariably I'm in a car and it's out of control. And I usually find that those dreams tend to coincide with times in my own life when I think I'm feeling not well in control. So it's just this sort of thing. I guess it's something that my mind can latch onto, and a way to visualize sort of disaster or just a lack of control of the situation. Well, right now I'm just really focusing on trying to get the album I just made out and getting as many people to hear it as possible. But I'm starting to write new material, and I would definitely I'd like to make another record sometime soon, but slightly different. This one was pretty heavily like I played a lot of the stuff myself, and it was a fairly constructed project. So I'd like to maybe try doing something with more different musicians and maybe a bit of a more live sort of recording feel. But I don't even know yet. That'll definitely be a few months down the road before I settle on anything firm. There are all sorts of people that I'm actually really lucky in this area because I get to work with guys like Dave Joseph. I work with him regularly, and Eric Bruck, who is a fantastic drummer, and I've worked with so many other fantastic people in this area recently. And it's not so much that there are specific people I'd like to collaborate with, but it's that I would really like to continue collaborating with, the multitude of extremely talented people who are in this music community. And it's interesting because it's just like there's this real alchemy that happens when you take 4 or 5 different people and get them involved in a project. And I feel like you could take 3 out of 4 of the same people and change one person, and all of a sudden you'll have this total dynamic shift where it's unpredictable, and it's not something that you can really account for. But it always is interesting. You just find these combinations that like it's just the magic that is created by a certain group of people is really a hard thing to nail down, because it's not any one person that brings the thing. It just is like the sum is greater than the parts, I guess. And so I'm excited just because there's lots of collaboration in this area, and hopefully lots more in the future. Pursuing my music, even though it was not it's not a clear-cut career path by any stretch of the imagination, and has certainly meant sort of turning my back on other possibilities or opportunities. But at the same time, it means that I'm now at a place in my life where I'm not destined to become rich at any point in time, but I can say quite certainly that my overall sense of satisfaction with life is extraordinarily high, and probably higher than so many other people who end up in maybe more financially rewarding careers, but who don't have the just the love for every moment of their life. So I'm really blessed in that that now I'm at a point where like I teach music and I love that, and I perform music regularly and I love that, and I get to be involved in all these awesome artistic projects, and I love that. And so I don't have to do anything. Like, there's no part of my life that I have to really clench my teeth and bear it. So over time I've managed to find a pretty ideal spot for someone of my own personal temperament. So that's I'm glad I did that, because it was pretty tempting at various points to just go to college for something, just to get some kind of piece of paper to say I could do something and earn more money. But kind of just stuck to my guns and kept on doing this through thick and thin. I think that was a good long-term choice for me to have made. I think that the most important thing for me that music does is it allows me to relate my own experiences, sort of relate to them emotionally, but in a way that is kind of provides a layer of safety or something. And so I hope that my music can do the same thing for other people, and that it can be a vehicle where you can examine yourself and think about how you feel about the world around you, but without having to do it through the lens of your own experience. It can be through the lens of another person's experience, and I think that's sort of why we as people love all forms of storytelling, be it film or literature or music. And I think that they just are these they're sort of like templates that we can use to examine our own selves through, and in a way that it just feels safe, and it feels like it's controlled. Whereas sometimes your own emotional self, the events of your own life can be overpowering. Whereas when you can deal with that through art, then it somehow just gives a bit more separation, I guess. So I hope that can happen for someone, because I always love it when music does that for me. Thank you for watching the Boheme Graces, and I hope you'll check out some more of the videos.